Hi, pre-K students. I have another story for you today about trees. This story is called A Grand Old Tree, and this is going to help us think a bit about some of the different parts of trees. It will also help us think about some of the ways that trees help us and other creatures. And then also we're going to see a little bit about the tree life cycle in this book. And so a life cycle is something that happens with all living things like people, animals, plants. So trees are a type of plant. And so it's about the way that they change during their life and the different stages that you might notice in their life. So this is A Grand Old Tree. This is by Mary Newell DePalma. Let's see what you can learn from this story. A Grand Old Tree. Once there was a grand old tree. Her roots sank deep into the earth. Do you remember what the roots do and why they're important? The roots have a couple of important jobs. They sink down into the earth to try to get water for the tree. They collect it from the ground. And also, it's important because it helps the tree stay sturdy. If it had no roots, then the wind would probably blow a tree over very easily, but the roots hold it steady in the ground. So let's see, those are the roots. It says her arms reached high into the sky. She was home to many creatures. Birds nested among her branches, squirrels scurried through her leaves, caterpillars and ladybugs crawled about. The grand old tree flowered. Look at that. Have you ever seen a tree with flowers before? I love seeing that, especially in the spring. Bore fruit. So look at that. It also is a tree that makes fruit. And sowed seeds. So look, the trees make seeds, and they might be in fruit or they might be in nuts, and then they get blown about. It says she had many children. How do you think a tree has children? Do you know how that works? When the seeds fall to the ground, then if they get buried into the soil and they get enough sunlight and water, then a new tree can grow. And so that's how the tree has children inside those seeds. If it gets planted, it can grow a new tree. It says the children changed the landscape for miles around, perhaps even farther than the old tree knew. So look, there are some of the trees that grew from the grand old tree's seeds. And this bird is even carrying the fruit and even farther away. So now maybe a tree will grow even farther than the tree could have imagined. The grand old tree lived a long, long time. She basked in the sun, bathed in the rain, swayed in the breeze, and danced in the wind. She grew and shed many millions of leaves. At last, the grand old tree was very, very old. Her branches no longer swayed and danced, but cracked and snapped in the wind. Finally, she fell, and snow gently covered her. The old tree died. She no longer flowered, bore fruit, or sowed seeds. But she was still home to many creatures. Raccoons nested in her trunk. Centipedes crawled along her branches. Can you see that? And lichen grew on her bark. The grand old tree slowly crumbled. She became part of the earth. Today, the roots of her grandchildren sink deep into this earth. Their arms reach high into the sky. They are home to many creatures, just like the grand old tree. Look at that, a new tree is growing. That's the end. I hope you learned a little bit about trees from that. It might be neat to kind of walk around your neighborhood and look at some of the trees you can find and start to notice if you find some that are the same kind. I wonder if one had seeds that fell and planted the other. that would be kind of interesting to start to notice if you see the same types of trees. I hope that you enjoyed that book and that you're enjoying learning about trees. I think it's a really interesting thing to learn about, and I love seeing the beginnings of your leaf collections. I can't wait to see all of them and for us to use those for some projects this week. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.